I am a professor at a business school here in Ontario, and I have been and continue to be a leadership and career development coach in my private practice for about the last 14 years. I'm going to just tell you a little bit about my journey, why I came to work with Larisa, and why I am suggesting that it is the best thing that could ever be done. And then maybe you'll get a bit of an understanding of why I'm pretty excited to be here to share with you all about it. So about a year ago, we're now May 2024, I can honestly say that I was in a bad way, personally and professionally. In my mind, it was recognition that something was very wrong. I couldn't feel it other than I'm stuck. I was stuck personally and professionally in the realm of relationship, not handling them well, not growing them well, not communicating properly, not resolving conflict healthfully, not handling stress that in a way that was going to be productive. We all have stress, but how do I walk through it and get to the other side? I would say not handling change very well, not leading me very well. And it's quite interesting because all of these symptom areas are things that I teach. One of my biggest areas is transformative learning and the belief in walking through to try and get to the other side, which takes a lot of courage. There was a little bit of hypocrisy going on here in that I was teaching this stuff, but I wasn't living it. And when I say step one in my mind was something was stuck, I was experiencing severe physiological, psychological, and behavioral symptoms. I do believe that we can go only so long and then the body starts breaking down. I would say that's possibly what was happening. One of my favorite quotes to clients and to students is, when does the human make change? When the pain of the present becomes greater than the pain of the unknown. I had reached a point where I was saying, I'm in so much pain personally and professionally right now. I don't know what's ahead of me, but it's got to be better. I was not living my best life. I had this recognition that if I could get unstuck in some of these areas, that my life could be fuller, that I could be growing and learning in better ways. I also had a couple people say to me, Teal, when are you going to stop putting all the lids on these boxes? In other words, things that I was not addressing and I was just putting lids on them, and the older I got, the boxes were getting stuffier. I would say we all have to maybe get to that place where we're broken, and I was broken, and that was last April. Fast forward 1 year, I'm finally feeling like I'm moving more forward thinking and manifesting in the right ways. Again, important to say we never know how long this process will take us. And it could be shorter, it could be longer. I would say I'm still in it, but the worst is behind me. The next phase is where Larisa pretty much saved my life, in my opinion. It was the unearthing, it was the digging, it was making a lot of unconscious conscious. It was through her modalities of timeline therapy, neuro-linguistic programming, a number of her capabilities, core competencies that she walked me through. Half the time I didn't really know what she was doing, but I totally trusted. It was grueling. It was very, very difficult work. It was about being transparent and being vulnerable to open up. And I'll also be honest, at this phase, which went on for a long time, I was also doing other modalities, which I did at the same time. Could be very, very helpful. A lot of work here that paralleled, I now know, the work of Joe Dispenza, Eckhart Tolle, Mary Morrissey, Catherine Woodward Thomas. The more we read and we look, we can see there is all of the consistencies in these beautiful forward-thinking pieces of work. That stage was grueling. I mean, you got to get yourself set up for it because it's ripping apart patterns that have got you in this safe zone, but I'll also say you're totally unconscious. From there, I would say that's where the magic began to happen, because I started identifying things that were limiting me. I could kind of start to see. I loved when Larisa would say, time to weed our garden. We've heard that expression before. I was starting to really see and feel the pain from old patterns of behavior that were there in place to save me from past difficulties in my life. Therapists would call it traumas, but I was really starting to see how the old patterns were no longer serving me in both my personal and my professional worlds. How I used to communicate, how I was, fostering relationships, the kinds of relationships that I was gravitating towards, etc. I started to see my patterns, and the patterns didn't work anymore. She'll often use the notion of old stories, old narrative, the narrative of the identity of what I was and no longer, quite frankly. Realizing this was really huge to me. My past informs me, but it doesn't define me. There was a colleague of mine that used to use the expression, "You're a graduate of the school you attended." At first I thought he was talking academically, but he was actually talking about his life. You're a graduate of the parents that raised you. Yeah, okay, but we don't need to allow that to define us going forward. It informs us, but it doesn't define us. I would say it was now a process of, as all this beautiful work is about, reconnecting or connecting new neurological pathways, seeing things in a different way. Our capabilities as humans, unbelievable. I had no idea what's inside us and what our capabilities are. Larisa would also concur, I'm sure, in the notion of reprogramming, making the unconscious conscious, and new neurological connections. And all of this is where, honestly, I'm going to say this was months. For me, it was months. I don't know if it's for everybody, but for me, it was for months. And then soon, I was able to start looking more forward, and it's kind of an overused word now, but I love it, manifesting. Now it's because so much of the unhealthiness is behind me. I'm now thinking about future kinds of relationships that I want to build personally and professionally, new ideas for business development in my career, the kinds of people that I want to meet and have surround me. I'm very, very careful now in who and what I surround myself with. It's almost like I'm pulling the future towards me by acting in the way that I want to act and be now. I think that's where I'm at. I'm still in a recreation stage, but the worst is behind me, and it has been a long, grueling year, but all I can say is I'm finally alive. I've awakened the real Teal, and I feel really good too, because now there's congruence with the kinds of things that I teach and I coach, because now I've lived it and am living it, and I become more authentic and with greater integrity when I speak and when I coach. And for my personal life, I'm a mom of 4 children, 4 adult children, and a grandma of 2. It doesn't matter which part of my life, in terms of relationships, they're now being cultivated in a much healthier, deeper, more conscious way. And I have Larisa to thank.